Jonathan Yost. He's a con man, wanted in over 7 states for his fraudulent schemes. Tune into our show to learn how he hustles people out of their money and where they are now. Get the inside scoop on preventing yourself from being conned by following along as we unfold this story. Welcome back to part 2 of our interview with Spencena.
I never once thought, go in and look up his full name, his real name. I never thought about that. So I was like, okay, whatever. So anyways, when I tell Chris that I found out that Latino was not only a con artist and that he took Josh's money and all these different things, instead of Chris keeping his mouth shut, he goes and tells Latino. So now Latino knows the jig is up and he has to get the heck out of Florida. So I'm thinking to myself, do I need to tell these people that he's a con artist, or should I make sure that they get paid? Should I keep Latino close to me? It didn't happen that way. Latino found out that I told the employee of the cast, and he started having them block me. And he had sent them a paper saying that I'm no longer affiliated with Shoreline Films and that they are not allowed to talk to me contractually, because if they do, they're in violation of their contract. So all of the cast are now not speaking to me, not on social media, not in email, not on the phone, and I'm trying to call them all.
Right. Oh man, you want to tell them the truth, and you get
that happened on our set, Spencena, with someone.
Really? Oh, I didn't.
It's like people are so easily fooled when they really want to believe something.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of them, yeah. But some of them some of them I did talk to, and they were like, I can't talk to you. I'm in violation of my contract. I said, there is no contract. Like, he's scamming us. I'm like, there is no contract. And I'm telling them like some of them just not answering the phone. And then there were about 7 of them that I say, believe me, out of 60 I didn't have the contact information for any of the extras, only because I never booked any extras. I didn't even know we had extras. One day I came to the beach and there were like 40 people on the beach on our set. And I'm like, where all these people came from? There are extras. What extras? Who hired extras? So they didn't even have a contract. He didn't even give the extras contracts. I didn't know any of their names. I couldn't pay these people. If they didn't reach out to me, and they didn't really know who I was because I wasn't really there. Some of them did meet me. So I spoke to, I want to say like 4 of them. But yeah, so I was like really thrown and blown away, like where these extras come from. But when I told these people that he was scamming us, they weren't believing me. And what made it so bad is I found his arrest. I found another Facebook page for Hawaii that said that he was conning people. I found the stuff that happened at the church in North Carolina. I found a bunch of stuff from LA, and Hawaii had him all over the news, everywhere. Like, he was all over the news. So I sent the stuff to them. On top of that, Latino was trying to convince me that he wasn't lying. When I had texted him, I was like, you're lying. I can't believe you're conning these people. These people need to be paid. You can't, So he's like, I'm going to pay them. And I said, I don't believe anything you say. I don't even believe that you're really going to court. I am going to court. So he sends me a link. And that's how I got the state attorney's information in Texas. He sends me a link and it shows the dates of his courts and each thing that's happened for each court. So I send it to the people. I send them all this information. What? And they still believe Latino. I'm like, it's in front of your face. Why?
Because I was thinking kind of the same thing on ours. Because people quit on ours. And I was thinking after it was all said and done, I was like, how come those dudes didn't come back and warn us? Because they might have found something out, because there was a lot of people who quit on our set. So I was like, how come no one warned us? Like, this was not cool. Like, this was not legit. But you did, and they still ignored you. That is crazy.
Well, you remember when I told you we went to the hotel and the camera guy disappeared? Well, after everything happened, I called him because I said, he must have known. I called him and I say, I found out that Latino was a con artist and I'm trying to figure out, did you know? And he was like, oh my God, I've been waiting for somebody to say something. And he was like, yeah, I knew. He said the way he found out was the hotel room. When he went to check in the hotel room, the clerk gave him a receipt with Jonathan's real name on it. So he researched him. And the guy said when he researched him and saw all the stuff, he hauled tail out of there. He said,
well, see, that's messed up to me. That, like, why not go tell everybody else? Everybody else is wasting their time and money. Why I respect you for trying, because God, I just feel like the guys that quit ours could have said something to us, so we all just would have been like, bye.
Was this the cameraman from Texas?
No, he was a guy that we hired from, I think he came from Sarasota, Miami, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he ended up telling me he tried to like kind of hint at it to some of the other camera people. But these camera people were all in college. They were college students. So they didn't know. They were just trying to get their, their hours, their intern hours or whatever. So they didn't know what was going on. So he was trying to hint at it. He said he really didn't know who to talk to because he didn't know who was in on the con. And I was like, I wish you would have told me. I wish you would have told me. He apologized because he was like, I really didn't know what to do. So he said he called the police and he took pictures of the Jeep that Latino drives, and he had the license plate number. So I'm like, okay, this is an interesting situation. But he said when he spoke to the police, that the police told him, well, this is a civil matter. You have to take him to court. We can't help you. Okay, so this is how he gets away with it. It's a civil matter. You have to take him to court. But a guy with no address who you can't serve a paper and who apparently is driving a stolen car is not going to be easily found. So come to find out, the Jeep he was driving belonged to a woman named Toya. She let him borrow the car because I forget what thing he told her, some excuse. But
we have evidence of, we've actually seen text messages. He says he works for Jeep and he says he can get a deal, and then the people give him money to get this car and then he splits. So that's another one of his scams. So I'm sure he did that.
We'll talk about that. So if we go back to when I shot my pilot in Georgia, we were at Toya's Airbnb that she rents out. He said it was Tyler Perry's production house. And the Tyler Perry production house was because he had it because he was part owner of the Tyler Perry production house or something like that. So he has us up in this woman's house filming. Now, Toya also gave the Jeep that she's making payments for, but she just gave it to him so he could borrow it, and he just never came back with her Jeep. The lighting equipment that he had all this expensive lighting equipment. He got from her credit card on her Home Depot card. Yeah, she told me that. I was like, what? So when he came, I had the lights in my possession, but I didn't know. So I gave them back to him. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So Toya got burnt. All that stuff about production houses and Tyler Perry Studios, all a lie. The guy that I spoke to when he called the police and he said that to me, I ended up calling the police myself. And I explained to them what happened. I explained to the permit people what happened. I explained to the police department in Clearwater that we had to get that we were working with what happened. And the police officer said to me, you guys still haven't paid. And by that time, I had signed the documents for him through Inc. Authority for them to take over the business. And I also had a bill of sale that Latino told me to do. Now, this was after Latino knew that I knew he was a con artist. And he sent me, him and Chris gave me a notarized paper saying that I am no longer in charge of the business. Okay, so they give me the notarized paper, I sign it, and I talked to somebody way after this, maybe like months after this. They're like, if you weren't there when it was notarized, it should have never been notarized in the first place. You were supposed to be there and notarize the document. So it's like null and void. And they're like, what notary would do that anyway? And I was like, I don't know. I just received the paper. And then the bill of sale, he told me to send DocuSign. I sign it, I send it to him. He never signs it and sends it back. He says to me, as long as you sign it, it's legal. And I was like, okay, whatever. So at this point now, I'm talking to Toya. I'm talking to the people, all the people in Atlanta. I'm talking to the people in Texas. And they're all telling me all these different stories. The guy in Texas, the director, the name of his company is Dark Carbon Productions. His equipment got tore up. He lost a lot of money through his equipment becoming broken and mishandled. And he was highly upset. The people in Mexico are calling the production company in Atlanta thinking that they are a part of this team and they're mad with them. So they had to fix that situation. The actors in Georgia never got paid. So now I have 8 actors in Georgia that I feel bad, who didn't get paid, but I'm not responsible because the production company is responsible for paying them. But then the production company went bankrupt because Latino scammed all these people. He had to go and pay them and he stole his money. So let me think. I'm trying to remember where I was at because I kind of got off topic. So the guy who didn't tell us, I had a long conversation with him. And he let me know that anything I need, that he would help me. So when he gave me the license plate number, I gave it to the Texas state attorney. And I said, this is the Jeep he's driving. I'm thinking he's going to get caught. Come to find out, Latinos wanted in like 6 different states, including Florida, which was interesting. So I talked to Toya and I talked to a guy named Cal. Cal and Toya are friends. Cal's also an actor and he helped with my show in Atlanta. And Cal said, oh, Latino brought the Jeep back. And I was like, what? He brought it back? Yeah, Toya said he came to her production house sweating profusely all over. And he drops the Jeep off, goes in her living room, strips naked, changes his clothes, and hops in an Uber and takes off. So when she tried to call the police, he was already gone. He didn't tell her she was coming or anything. He just dropped off the Jeep and just disappears. She never gets her lights back. I don't know where the lights are to this day. But he takes off. And since then, I've heard that he was in a city called someplace North Florida. And then he ended up in Vegas and then California. And that's where I've heard of him. Now I have been speaking to the state attorney's office, giving them every bit of evidence I have. But that Jeep was my last hope to get him arrested because that was the only way you could really trace him. And now, since I know that I'm sure he's not staying at Marriott's at this point because everybody knows he stays at Marriott's. So I'm sure he's not staying at Marriott's at this point. So without me being able to get him served, without me, being able to pinpoint him in any way, he's just going to continue to run free. And I told the state attorney office straight up in Texas, I said, I will willingly go and testify. And so will a lot of other people from Florida and Georgia. We will go testify. I said, but the problem is once he's convicted, he's going to run. He is not going to come. And I made it very clear. I said, you're going to have to go and get him. He is not going to hop on anybody's plane to go be handcuffed. He's going to continue to do this. And the woman who's suing him, she's suing him for $300,000 in Texas. But you know, if people would come together, if people would work together, we could
This
have
is
this
what we
man
want.
arrested.
This is what we want. This is why we're doing this. We want to catch him, and we want people to come together. We want to bring people together and tell this awesome story. But that's our goal. You know, that's our goal from day one.
Well, so when I asked Chris, the guy who's taking over the company with me, how much money he gave him, my guess is he gave him well over $20,000, because when he started dishing out numbers, I was like, this is what happened. He gave him money for 2 shows and for Jeeps. Now, our Jeep story is a little different from your Jeep story. He had this jacket, says that he works for Universal Studios. It says Universal Studios and it has Jonathan's name on it. So he says, I work for Universal. We get discounts on these Jeeps. $250 a month for 2 years, and the Jeep is all yours. So he's driving a stolen Jeep, telling all these people that he can get them a Jeep. He steals money from the actors. He steals money from the college student cameramen, the actors who are on set. One girl told me, I gave him $9,000 to get me a Jeep. That was all the money I had. And her car, and this is how heartless, Latino really is. During the time where we were on set, her car broke down. He had to go get her. And she drove, she's not even from here. She's from a different state. And she drove here. Her car breaks down. She can't get it fixed. She needs a new car. So she gives him $9,000 to get a new car. So now, between all the money that these people are telling me they gave him, and the money he owes me, and the money he owes both sets of actors, it's like $1 million. And I'm like, what the freak? And I've seen him with a lot of money, because before he got that money from Josh, he had about $50,000 on him. Then he got the 35 from Josh. And I'm like, you're staying in these hotels every day. These Marriott hotels are like $200 a night. And you're staying there. You're living in these hotels every night. So I know he's coming across a lot of money. But now I'm realizing he's selling these dreams to these people. These poor actors, a lot of these people are just making ends meet. He even used one of the actors' boats, and I felt so bad because he's a friend of mine, and he was a great actor. And I felt so bad because we used his boat. I mean, Latino did pay for the, I guess it's like permits or something you have to use to film it, but he paid for that part, but he still used a man's boat. He used his truck. All these things, like, and I'm just like, what in the world?
Did you think his intention was to finish any of this, or just to take the money and run?
No, he needs to have continued content. See, I had to figure it out, because I had to start. So my master's degree, my first one was in psychology. So I had to figure out, because I couldn't figure out what sense it could possibly make, that the way he moved. But he has to produce more content. The more content he produces, the more he can say that he's a producer and he can continue his Ponzi scheme. The scheme is never to stop. He claims that he has a daughter who lives in Japan, that he's paying for her to go to school in Japan. His mom takes care of. Well, the people in Georgia said that they found out he does have a son that he doesn't take care of. He doesn't even have a daughter. Nobody's in Japan.
I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you what you thought of that, because I didn't think it was real, but it's kind of hard to throw that at somebody. But I'm glad you know.
Only one picture of his daughter. That's all he had. One picture. And
he told us she was in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And she was gay, and he's fine with it, and that he supports her.
Yeah, he did say. Well, so the belief is that Latino is gay, because there was a few conversations.
Well, one thing is that about Jared?
Latino had, I found out he was from Ohio, and actually a guy that grew up with Latino, his mother took this boy in, And the boy was like, I can't believe Latino's doing this. He wasn't raised like that. And I was like, you never know how people turn out, you know? But apparently Latino doesn't have a daughter. Nobody's in Hawaii. The con is to always have content. He showed me fake Converse commercial ads, photo shoots. And he was like, oh, I did one for Smirnoff for Gay Pride because I want to make sure, you know, that I include everybody. I love gay people. And I said, I love gay people too, but I really have a feeling because of other things that I don't want to disclose that he was sleeping with one of the cameramen, and he was sleeping with multiple women from the sets and stuff. So it was a very interesting thing. I just think that he was just having a ball. Like, he was having all this sex and he was stealing all these people's money and he was creating content, and he didn't have to pay for anything. He just had to brush out a few lies. And the thing became, well, Latino's racist because he's only targeting Black people. I said, well, yeah, if the target is a Black woman, which is usually what we've been seeing, or we've seen a few Black men, but mostly Black women. I said, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, everybody who gets involved gets burned. I said, so he's burning everybody. At this point, it doesn't even matter. But that made me think why he would say he loved Black people when we did the interview. Why did he say that? And I asked him during the interview, why do you love Black women? He said, I love Black women. I'm like, why do you love Black women? He didn't answer the question. So I believe that he's just using that as a way to get his money and to scam people.
He's a talker. He'll tell you what you want to hear. And, you know, as a Black woman, you're going to want to hear that. But I believe there wasn't too many African Americans on our set. Just one that he got, who was a super nice guy, super cool dude.
Yeah, he was on my set, and he told my right-hand guy that I worked with for years, okay? Like, my brother from another mother, he's Latino. He said, yeah, you know, I don't like this Kirk guy. I don't like white people. They ask too many questions. And then he started he started filtering a wall between me and the other producers because I kept asking too many questions. And he created this separation, which elongated this whole thing, which we'll get into in another podcast episode, and I'll tell you about.
Did on any of her jobs, did you see him build walls? Because we knew he tried to build walls between everybody on our set.
He did. He did. He had the college students separate from the Caucasian actors. He had
segregation.
The Black actors separate from the college students. He had some of the camera crew separate. He had like the ones from Atlanta. So everybody was like, nobody felt included. It was a mess. It was a hot mess.
Okay, Spencena, you brought when I talked to you the first time about he was always on the phone with Tyler Perry, and you thought that was funny. Yes.
So what we came up with is his real girlfriend, the one that is in cahoots with him, is the actual Tyler Perry, quote unquote. Because when you see his phone, it says Tyler P. It said Tyler P. And he always refers to Tyler Perry as Mr. P. So he would say, oh, Mr. P is calling. He'll answer the phone and he'll walk off. But nobody could ever hear what they were talking about. And I'm thinking to myself, Tyler Perry don't have enough time to be calling you 24/7. Every time we're on set, every time we're out, because he would take us out to eat. Like, he took the cast out to eat all the time. Like, he would pay for everybody to go out to eat. So we're together like 18 hours of the day, dang near. So it's like, Tyler Perry calling you this much? I don't think so. I don't think that man has enough time to talk to you all day. It was weird.
Tyler Perry has a booty call.
Exactly. And I'm like, Tyler Perry's not calling this man.
We think we know who Tyler Perry might be, and we hope to uncover her, because we do think she's an accomplice, or she just got fooled like everybody else. But we believe we know who she is.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that she is an accomplice too, because the way he was moving is weird when he was talking. It seemed like he was trying to, because she was asking him questions. I could hear him answering questions, but then he would always like walk off, so you can't really hear the rest of the conversation. But a lot of people have come to the conclusion that it is a girl, from different various people. He even said there was this little boy that was set in Georgia. He told me that he had custody of this little boy, and that the little boy was gay, and that his mom loved him, and that he had to raise him. And then one day, the little boy was like, after all of this was over, he was like, that man ain't got no custody of me. He was like, I just met this man. It was weird. And then there was a little girl on the set. Oh, I just dropped my food. There was a little girl that was on set. And the little girl was such an amazing actress here in Florida that we thought that she could really make it. So he shows me this email in his phone that is supposed to be from CBS, because this was who's picking up the show. And it said, basically, dear Jonathan, we love your show. We love all of this. And these are the actors that we want. And he picked out like 8 of the actors, or I don't know if it was even 8. I think it was like 5 actors that he wanted to go on the actual show. And he wanted to replace the other actors. And I said, well, I was looking at the name of the person, and I was trying to remember the person's name so I could go back and look it up. So I ended up calling NBC, and they're not really forthright, and they're not really nice. They don't want you to talk to anybody. So I'm calling, telling the operator, I'm like, listen, this is going on, and I need you to see that this guy is using your name, your company. So finally I did get in touch with somebody, the security department head. And I sent him, the papers or pictures of Jonathan wearing like a t-shirt, or the jacket that said Universal Studios and Jonathan's name, text messages that said that he worked for them. And I accumulated a lot of this from other actors and stuff, because he doesn't give the same thing. Jonathan doesn't give the same thing to the same people. He gives different stuff. So when that happened, they blocked me. After NBC blocked me, I guess they didn't want to have anything to do with the situation. But I'm like, why block me? I didn't do anything. It was a trip.
I'm not surprised.
So yeah, but that letter, what made me feel bad is I called the child's dad, and I said, Jonathan just showed me, Latino, I call him Jonathan now, but Latino just showed me the email from CBS. They want your daughter. I said, don't tell her yet, because I want to make sure that we get all the, get the show done and stuff like that. And then we have an actual document that she can. But he told her, told the little girl, even though I told him not to. And now the little girl is like, kind of like burnt with acting, She was only 11, so.
All that.
And when the people were on set for Shoreline Films, he had the first AD acting as an executive producer and as my assistant, which I was the producer. And what he did was he sent to me an NDA and a contract. And I told her to log into my email and send it to everybody, or I sent them to people as well. They sent them, they signed the NDAs, but the contracts itself, he had everybody sign the contracts on set, and nobody got a copy. Nobody got a copy. One girl got a copy because she took a picture of hers, is what it was. While they were signing, she said, shoot, and that one girl got a copy. So really, nobody has copies of anything they signed. Nobody has anything that says they actually worked for a production company, that this money is owed to them. And in Florida, verbal agreements aren't legal and binding. So they would have to go to court. And this was where a lot of confusion came in, where people said they don't even want to bother, because you have to go to court, you have to find him. Now you have to prove that you were deceived. And it was just too much for a lot of people. So in that instance, I couldn't get a lot of people to even bother to help me pursue the, the criminal part of it.
Wow. And so that's just like a nice note for anybody listening. Anytime you sign a contract, get a copy of it, take a photo of it, or have it sent to you, and make sure that it's received before you do any work going forward, right?
Yes.
And then you had also mentioned earlier that you had connected with the district attorney of Texas, San Antonio. Like, how did you get that connection, or were brought aware of him being involved?
That was from when Latina was like, because I always told Latino from the first day, because I'm a very honest person. I was like, I don't trust you. I think you're a liar. I told him that from the first day. So he got so tired of me saying it, I guess, that the last time I said it, he was like, I said, I don't believe you. I don't trust you. I think you're a liar. I don't even think you're going to court. I don't know where you're going. So he sent me the link for the court. And that's how I found out. I didn't even know. Oh, and let me tell you this. His public defender in Texas, right? His name is Cornelius. He works for the county, he works for the state attorney's office. Latino tells all the actors to cease, to not talk to me because I don't work for Shoreline Films anymore. But I get a wonderful letter in the mail that is a cease and desist letter that is shipped to me priority overnight mail. And it's a letter that Latino wrote pretending it's from his lawyer, Cornelius, for me to cease and desist. And I'm looking at this letter. The letter looks good. And if you don't know better, but I do know better because I've worked in law. My mom's a paralegal. She has her bachelor's in international law. So it wasn't fooling me. So I'm looking at it and it had Cornelius's name. So I called the state attorney's office. I'm like, do you guys know he did this? And nobody called me back. So I never spoke to them until I called. The very last time I called, I was telling the lady, I was like, I need to speak to the public defender or a supervisor. And that's how I ended up actually speaking to the state attorney's office, because when I was leaving messages for, I guess they had like a generalized mailbox, it just wasn't working. And they kept transferring me to all these people. Nobody called me back. But I finally got in touch with the person over the case. So I gave him every bit of information that I could think of at the time.
Okay, Spencena, so when was the last time you were in?
So I found out he was a con artist, like, I would say 3 days before production. I won't even say 3 because on that third day, I found out that night after production ended. And then he knew by the next day that I knew he was a con artist. So the last day of production, he came over to my place and he dropped off my footage and he got some of the stuff that I had been holding for production, because the intent was for him and a lot of the editors to go to Universal Studios and drop all the footage and edit it. But it ended up only being him and one other person in the hotel room editing the footage in Orlando. So that was a mess. But I knew when he dropped off that footage, I was never going to see him again. I knew it. I said, I got my gun because we used my guns for the police officers as props. So they were just, empty guns. And we used those for the props. And he was like, I'm a felon. I can't have these. And hurry up and get your guns. So I got my guns. And he gave me the footage. And that night when he dropped it off, I never saw him again. I said, I knew it. I knew I wasn't going to see him again. And I had been trying to, make an appointment with him to see him so that I could get him arrested. But it was just really hard because
they won't work
Texas,
with you.
Well, Texas doesn't have jurisdiction in Florida. And I tried to see if the state attorney's office and the FBI in Florida could help, but they couldn't. But I will tell you this, I know a lot of reasons why people don't know about Jonathan is because from county to county, when the news comes out, it doesn't go to each county, like our news station only covers like 3 counties, 4 counties, maybe even 6 counties, depending on how big the story is. The Hawaii, he was all over the Hawaii news, but that didn't come here because the news doesn't travel that far. So he's made international news, he's made national news as far as our country, but he hasn't made national news as far as like CNN, like being in everybody's home. So that's why we really need to have documentaries and movies and TV shows.
It's gonna be our job.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I commend you guys. Like you said, I'm a humanitarian, you guys are humanitarians, because at the end of the day, somebody has to want to help. You know, somebody wants to have to want to see him in jail, or he's gonna keep getting away with it. And he's gonna keep burning.
Well, like we just said, he's doing it right now. He's he's scamming somebody right now.
As we speak. As we speak.
He won't stop until he's caught or until he's in jail.
Mm-hmm. And then with COVID, him happened, because if his court dates weren't Zooms, he would have already been in jail, because somebody would have arrested him at one of those, court hearings from whatever other state, and he would be in jail. But
he did Zoom on the 25th, when he zoomed in from the 25th.
Oh, he did.
To the court. He did, yes.
Mm.
But COVID has made it to where that's how they're doing it now, and he'll get sentenced and he'll just keep staying on the run. Why would he turn himself into Texas when he hasn't turned himself in Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, Georgia, California, Texas? Like he's wanted in 2 parts of Texas, 3 parts of California. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
And none of them want to work together or figure it out.
I don't think there's a system set up for them to join.
Yeah, when I spoke to the FBI, the only way you can really report stuff to the FBI is you send in a document online, and I reported it to them. And when I spoke to the state attorney's office where I'm from, they said they don't really have connections with the FBI. They're their own entity. Even though you would think law enforcement all like work together, it's not the case.
It really is made for them, like you said, criminal justice system.
Yes, it is.
So you get to the point where you try to tell these people what's going on. They didn't believe you. At what did they come back at you at any point and have those conversations of epiphany? Some
of them did. And then, like I said, a few did believe me from the beginning. Some of them were like, I was like, I'm so sorry, I don't have any money. Latino took all my savings. And I said, I really I don't know what to do at this point. And I told them I'm going to keep trying. And I did. I tried and tried. I even filed an insurance claim, because he did end up putting the insurance in his name. So I filed an insurance claim, but the insurance people never even contacted me back after I gave them all the documentation. They told me that they probably wouldn't cover it. He said, I'm not really supposed to tell you this, but I'm going to let you know we probably won't even cover it, because we don't cover that type of loss. It's mostly like property damage. I was like, really?
You're like, oh, my car is damaged.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I never got those people paid. A lot of them were just like, it's water under the bridge. It's okay. It's fine. But, at the end of the day, I felt bad. So I ended up closing the company name down. And I was like worried about my reputation, because I don't want people to think that I'm the con artist, because I still have to run my business. I still have to go into production. So I said, I started a new company name, and I said, Lord, please don't let this ever come back on me as if I was the con artist. But most people are understanding. The ones that I've talked to most of the main cast from Florida, and I talked to all of the cast from Georgia, and everybody's just like, there's nothing, he conned us all, and they're very understanding. But the people who I didn't talk to, I don't know what they're thinking. I don't want them to think that I'm the con artist, because at the end of the day, he used me to find other actors. You know, I did casting calls for him on Mandy.com. Toya got in Georgia. Toya got all the actors in Georgia. So he uses our influence and the people that we know to get what he needs. So he really just uses, like, everybody I knew is how he got everything he in Florida. Everybody that she knew is how he ended up in Tyler Perry Studios. So it's unfortunate, but it taught me some valuable lessons, like never ever. And I knew this from having business. It's not like I'm new to business, but just trying to trust somebody that, you know, and shouldn't have did that. So always have your documentation properly done. You know, don't trust people's word. Listen to your instincts. You know, don't let people sell you a dream. Because for me, it was like, nobody in Florida is Hollywood that I know, you know? And in order for me to do Hollywood things, I wanted to work with somebody that was Hollywood to make it happen. And the funds weren't there for me. So, but now things have turned around for me. I actually am working with the production company in Georgia. And we're going to redo my pilot. They're going to fund it for me. And we're going to get the actors who were in it to actually be on that one and legitimately get paid as a way to pay them back. So the people from Florida, I don't know what I'm going to do about that yet, but we're just going to, you know, take it step by step and pray that it all works out.
That's awesome. That just shows that you can persevere, and that's 100% what we want to hear. Perseverance. Yes. And catching his sorry ass. That's what we want.
Yes, we do. And I really felt like he ruined my life when it was all said and done. I was like, you ruined my life. I'm never going to be able to bounce back from this in the industry, because I want to be in Florida, my home state. I love it here. You're never bored in Florida, and I don't want to leave. I love the beaches. I love the nature walks. I love the amusement parks. I love the clubs. I love the food. I just love being here, and I don't want to have to start a new life somewhere else for my production company just so that he, you know, haven't affected my relationships with others and my reputation in a way that I can't start work here. You know,
you don't want to live like him.
The one thing we did learn is you can just change your name.
You know what? It's the truth. Just change your name, nobody knows.
You don't even have to change your first name, just your last name.
Yes. Well, and you know what's so funny? My name is the name of my company. So I'm like, and there's not many people with my name. So my company's name is Spencena Entertainment. So I was like, I could just change the name, but my name is the name that I have to go with. So I'm like,
you have a beautiful name.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
It comes from Spencer. You would never believe it comes from the name Spencer, which is a French name for a man. That's called it means boss or administrator.
Well, there you go. You're born into it.
I guess so.
Well, Spencena, it's been so wonderful talking to you. You can obviously tell that you are such a humanitarian and no part of this whatsoever. You have such great intentions for everybody involved, and we've been so thankful to get your valuable insight on this issue. Is there any last words that you'd like to say to those listening?
I would like to say that, you know, when you have a dream and when you have a hope, don't let other people dictate to you what you know is right and what you know is wrong. And I won't even say dictate, because there are the people that dictate, but then there are the people who provide suggestions to try to help. Always go with your instincts and what you believe in your spirit is right for you.
Thank you so much, Spencena.
Thank you so much, Spencena. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You went beyond expectations for me. I had super high ones for you, I gotta admit, but you exceeded them.
And I'm sure I left out a lot of information, but you know, there's always that time. Always talking in.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you on again if we need, if you're open to it. All right, that's it for this episode with Spencena from the Blinding Lights of the Cons of Jonathan Yost.